Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host for The Bachelorette, Tanya. How are you doing today, Tanya?
I've got a lot to say about this episode. I think we both do. Not my favorite one. So I have wine today because I felt like I needed that as we go through everything that went down last night. How about
totally
you?
agree with you. Like, it started off promising in a way. We get to, Karl shadowboxing. And I feel like, I'm sorry, it's not on our list officially, but I feel like I should get 5 points for shadowboxing. I think that is something that is hilarious, like guys blowing off steam. I don't know if you watch Are You the One, but I don't know if it was last season. Was it last or the season before? I think it was the season before, and I can't remember his name right now. But like, he was like, every time he got like upset about a girl, he would go and shadow box and like get to the punching bag, and another girl go into the punching bag. And so I just think it's hilarious, this whole like blowing off steam. So
I mean, like, glad you're not hitting anyone, but also this display was so pathetic that I just couldn't. Like, I couldn't deal.
So funny. So I loved it. And so Karl's like talking to the guys, and the guys are like, they're really coming at him, being like, we don't want to be in this scenario where she's upset. Like, why are you saying anything? And he's like, oh, I want to go talk to her again. Like, I gotta go fix this or whatever. And they're like, no, like, what? I'm just trying to understand Karl's logic, because, okay, he knows that people go home if they cause too much trouble. If all the guys are against you, it's not a good look. So I don't know why he wanted to just flip the whole house to be against him and thinks that he's going to win her heart in the end. Like, I'm just kind of unsure of his intentions, actually.
I think he was like trying to take maybe a page out of Katie's book last season, in the sense that she kind of called to attention what was happening in the house, but the main difference is something was actually happening then. So it works when you are saying something to the lead about real facts and not just whatever nonsense he's making up. Or if he was referring even to Thomas, for example, then he could have just called that out specifically, but instead he decided to make this play, and it just failed. It just failed completely.
Well, I actually think, and you can tell me if you agree, that Aaron is trying to be the Katie of this season. As we go through this episode, it seems like he's the one that's going to, make sure she knows the truth. And he has a lot of words to say later on in the episode about Thomas, and it just like, he has so many opinions. Like, I get that you're on a show. I get that you're being, provoked by producers as well as by the people that you're there with. And I get it. Storylines need to happen. But like, wouldn't you just not care? I just wouldn't care.
And he keeps using language like, I'm trying to protect you, or I'm trying to protect everyone here. It's like, from what? From Karl's shadowboxing? Like, it's not really that serious. I guess he is just taking it to heart in a very big way, but I don't even view Aaron as actually even liking Katie that much.
He doesn't like her.
I'm just very perplexed by like what this is, other than a display of masculinity in a strange environment. Like, it's all weird.
It's kind of like he's compensating for the fact that he's not into her at all.
Yeah.
Like at all. And he does want to stay on the show as long as possible.
Honestly, I'm not even like disagreeing with where he stands in certain sides of the arguments, but I do think he's also, some of his language is a little bit off-putting. Like, I appreciate what he's saying, because I agree, like in relation to Karl, for example, but then he said something along the lines of, he should have been exterminated long ago. And I'm like, that's like a weird wording choice,
Well,
like,
maybe
I don't love that.
It was like a play on something else. Like, maybe before he's like, oh, he's a cockroach, we can't get rid of him. And then maybe like the next
they just threw it in there. Yeah.
So maybe I'll just give him a little bit of credit there. But like, I find a lot of the men use the wrong word. I'm always like, I'm going to start paying attention because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that's the right word, and nobody calls them out on it. So I'm like, okay, I'll just let it go. But I'm going to actually start paying attention now because it's happens quite often. Hi, Tamika. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so Tamika says Aaron is definitely the snitch of the season and should have been sent home. Yeah, yes. I'm not into him, to be honest. He's kind of womp womp. Hi, Natalie. So, Natalie, is Thomas the Josh Murray of the season? I know he looks like him. We think so. Yes. And we're going to probably be talking about Thomas quite a bit later on. But I have to say that I think the reason why he's coming across so messy is that the producers are pushing him to be the new villain. And I don't think he gets like what to do. Like, he just is not maybe smart enough to like navigate what the producers want him to do with the situation that he's in. He's just not crafty enough, I think, or, so we'll talk more about my thoughts there. And I'm sure you have some words about Thomas's actions.
So many.
Hi, Joseph. So this season feels like unreal come to life. Katie should have sent home Aaron because he has a big mouth, but producers love him. I'm surprised that the producers love him, though. Like, I don't know. It's just so... He's not even bringing anything real to the table either. Like, give me some facts about Cody. Like, what did Cody do? Tell me exactly what Cody did.
He seems to have a lot swirling around him. And I don't know if it's because he's, like, again, rising to this protector role that he's assigned himself that no one asked of him. Or that maybe the common denominator is that he's also an issue if he is involved with everybody. Although, to be fair, everyone dislikes Karl. So... And it seems as though everyone dislikes Thomas as well. So I don't think he's unique in that. But yeah, I don't know, dude. If you find yourself in the drama all the time, then maybe you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. And that's kind of, remember how I was feeling about Katie. I was kind of like, okay, yeah, in the beginning it was cool that you were kind of standing up for people. But it's like, why is she injecting herself into every single situation to be like, I'm standing up for people? So... I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that energy, really. If somebody's really like, she can figure it out on her own. She's not going to marry like Karl. Like, you don't need. It's cool. She'll figure it out. Like, it's okay.
Karl.
Oh, it's sad. I don't have an issue with Thomas. LOL. Tamika, I don't really either.
Oh my God. What? Okay, no, I don't have an issue with him as a person, but I have an issue with Thomas in The Bachelorette and his approach. Because I understand, as we discussed last week, that it's still a game for a lot of people. But you need, and this is Karl's mistake too. This isn't like Survivor. This isn't like Big Brother, like where people know that a game is being played. In The Bachelor and Bachelorette, people know that a game is being played, but the name of the game is to make it seem like you're not playing the game, that you're just being authentic, which is playing the game. And he has failed in that regard completely. Like, I actually don't care about him wanting to be the Bachelor because I think many of these men won't admit to the fact that they also want the same thing. But it's just not good at playing the game. Like,
100% agree. 100% agree. But he's so cute. Also, why did they make Nick a mediator on the dang therapy session? Oh my God, we'll get to that, Tamika. We're almost there. Like, I was furious. So I totally do not agree with that choice there from the producers. So Karl says a line that everybody had a problem with. He's like, I'm not putting anyone on blast here. Is he delusional in the sense that he doesn't recognize what he's actually doing? Because like, whether you're not putting someone specifically on blast and calling one person out, you're putting everyone on blast in that moment because she's going to be questioning every single person. So I just, like, if everybody's there to protect Katie and protect her heart and want to make her feel good, they need to be, if they want to share this information, they have to do it with a different approach. They can't do it right before a rose ceremony when she's just feeling better about like finally getting rid of Cody and like, okay, we have a rose ceremony now. Like, let's like focus on us and getting to know each other, and then like drop something out. I don't think other people are here for good. And like, who cares?
I did not read the room well at all. Did not read the room well. Like, he probably could have done this at a different time and it would have still stirred things up, but like particularly after the Cody stuff and she was just on the up and up was like the worst time to do it as a contestant. I'm sure production was like, you should tell Katie, like you should tell Katie, just so obviously.
What if you're not here next week? Like, you gotta let her know how you feel and like just protect her. Like, no, leave her alone. No. So I'm feeling some points should go to, because there was kind of spats back and forth. So Karl and Trey, Aaron had a lot of words. Andrew had some words. Hunter and John, Greg and James are all kind of had some back and forth with Karl. So I don't know how we should distribute those points there, but definitely those men that were talking back, clapping back, get some points, and maybe a couple for Karl, like half points for being in a fight kind of with everybody in the house. But they showed Thomas pacing, and I think that was really interesting with the way that the narrative is going to be going, because like, it's like, I'm sure it's out of context. I don't even know if he was pacing in that exact moment when like this is going on, but they cut to, you know, Thomas pacing back and forth, looking pensive, like, oh my God, am I going to be outed, is what it lent to me, like his behavior. I thought it was quite interesting how they're piecing this together, the new narrative. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that Justin, your guy, I wish he was my guy. I wish that he was my guy. I wish that he was my guy, because like, I'm in love with his facial expression.
King of facial expression. On Game of Roses, they call this face play when someone has like a really expressive face. And I have to say, Justin, it takes it to a new level of face play. And I'm always right there with him because I'm a very expressive person. So like when I experience things in life, it actually gets me into trouble because I can't hide my face. Like I just can't. So I feel like if I was ever on this show, I would be a face play person where I would just be like, in every situation, just like facially reacting like a McKenna, like that style of person where it's just like, I can't contain my facial expression. I can't. So I love Justin for that. I love it. And I'm always right there with him. I'm like, that's how I'm watching the show at home. I'm literally just like, what's going on? So respect to the faceplay king, Justin.
Faceplay king. I'm 100% with you there. I'm a faceplay queen, like just like you. No, nobody can tell. Like everybody can tell what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling because my face does not lie. My mom was always like, "Come on, get that look off your face," and I'm like, "I'm just being myself. Like I'm just reacting or not reacting, but like my face is always reacting." So I put something together in lieu of our guy here.
Oh, I can't. Mood. Cheers to that.
That was for you.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
My best editing skills together just so we can have a little look at the faceplay king over here. So I'm just now I'm watching the show for his reactions. Like That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I want him to go so far because I need to see how he reacts to all these situations. I don't know
He's
if you
one of
watched
my
the
faves at this point. Like, I actually really like him.
I love him. I'm like, you could do no wrong right now. Right reasons, wrong reasons. You for the Bachelor. Like, I want like everything for this person right now. And so I don't know if you've watched Chatty Broads with Becca Martinez. She was on Ari's season. And Jess, I can't remember her last name. Anyways, Jess, Becca dislikes Justin so much. She hasn't talked I haven't watched her talk about episode 3 yet, but she's just like, oh, I don't feel like his face, like he's just like trying to like ham it up for the camera, and like she felt that he was being a little bit when Karl was doing his 18-minute seminar about Katie, like that he wasn't warranted in his facial reactions, and that like she just felt that they were just too much or whatever. And so I remember I was like, I love that he was like, oh, anybody here listening to this? Like I thought it was hilarious.
I loved it too.
I'm wondering if now though, if she's going to change her tune a little bit with the fact that he's getting so much love and fandom and like respect, and like he has the most memes I've ever seen in like one day. Like I'm obsessed with him, love him so much. Like I'm like, I want to date him because he is hilarious. So funny. So Katie comes back into the room, and obviously she's really upset, and they're gonna go straight into the rose ceremony, which is like, Karl, this is what happens when you bring these things to the table like this. Like, she cuts time with her, and like, do you think that you got enough time to like make it through the next rose ceremony? So like, I just think it's just such a bad play timing wise. Like Aaron did it in a good way where it was like they had a little bit of extra one-on-one time that he won because he like on their date, and it didn't really take away necessarily from the cocktail party. So I roll again for stupid Karl and his timing. So this is the move, though. Greg goes over to comfort Katie. Now, do you think this was up by his own volition, or do you think that he was a little urged over there by the producers?
I think it was maybe of his own volition, or at least maybe he had it was a very Dale Moss moment for me. Because Greg is such a heavy front runner that him making this move was really smart, because then one, he's checking in on her and seeing how she's doing, and two, he gets that little bit of time in that connection. And what I thought Katie said that was super interesting, and she said, I quote, "I can't be confident in anyone else in that room," to me implying that she's confident in him and only him. I
wrote down the exact same thing. I wrote down she isn't confident with anyone else. And so that's like, it did seem to me like they were in a relationship, and then she's kind of like playing girlfriend to these people in that room. You know what I mean? And like, she's just like talking to her guy, her confidant, like, okay, we have to go through this together. But okay, I don't know if you watch Bachelor Fan Take, I think it is. And so he does like some sleuthing sometimes. He doesn't like spoilers. He likes to like piece together different trailers and stuff like that. So I just need to put it out there what he thinks might be happening, because like they're pushing so much with this Greg narrative that he is going to win the show. Like, it just seems like obvious. And we know that like, it can't be that simple. He can't be like that he's going to go all the way to the end and win. It's just it just isn't going to happen. So he thinks that Greg is going to leave at some point, break Katie's heart or something of that, fact. And then he's going to come back saying that he made the wrong decision. There's like a scene of her kissing him in the rain or something like that. He was kind of relaying it to, I believe it was Breakfast at Tiffany's, as well as The Notebook. So it's like that whole coming together moment. So I'm thinking like that makes some sense to me, because like we see a lot of moments where she's like super heartbroken and upset, and like the only person right now that could get her to be that upset, I would think, would be Greg. So and then that wouldn't be something that we were expecting. It would be like, oh my God, her front runner's gone. She says something like, I don't know what I'm gonna do now, like, or I don't know where to go from here, or something to that effect. And so that's his hot take.
It also like tracks with the rumors of Greg being an actor, or so they're not rumors, like he did go to acting school.
Yeah.
But I guess like there's this whole like conversation that's happening online where like some people say that he actually like got his job before going on the show so that he could have a job to say it was his job. And like this is all like super calculated. And I mean, in terms of the skills in which he's navigating the game, I think like I'm not surprised that he has a background in acting, because he seems to really be leaning into like being this shy person and like kind of like going that whole route. So I mean, I don't know. He's a good actor because it's working. He's getting all these followers. Katie's into him. It's all happening that way. And I don't know where he stands really, but I do think if he were to leave and come back, there's a wonderful setup for if he doesn't end up being with her at the end, a Bachelor story, being in this franchise in some capacity. So we will see how it plays out, but that makes sense to me. I had a feeling it couldn't be that obvious that they'll just end up together, especially after the heels of Claire's situation. I don't think that would happen again, or production would allow for that to be like the story of the season again.
Do you think also, because like, I believe Colton was asked if he was interested in being the Bachelor while he was still on Bachelor in Paradise. And so I'm wondering if the producers asked him that while he's in this season with Katie, so that he would leave, come back. She'll say, I can't trust you with my heart anymore. I can't choose you, even though I want to. Chooses someone else. He now looks like, I went back for the girl and then I got shut down. Perfect scenario to be the Bachelor.
And we know that is true because of Rachel Lindsay's article that came out this week, which, by the way, I'm sure most people in this chat have probably read it. But if you haven't, New York Magazine, it is Rachel's kind of like, I would say, farewell, basically, to the franchise, in which she's really exposing everything that went down in her time as the Bachelorette and as a contestant. And she does say explicitly that producers, she had heard that producers wanted her to be the Bachelorette, like even from early on when she was a contestant on Nick's season, and that was kind of what they had in mind. So it's not unheard of that they're already kind of like planting seeds for future leads, or at least keeping options open and keeping certain people, like putting a pin in certain people's story to understand like, okay, this is someone that we would consider to be a lead afterwards. So
especially if he has the most growth so far and popularity with people in Bachelor Nation on Instagram, if that's like the indicator here as to performing well as the Bachelor. And I think he would probably perform well as the Bachelor. I mean, I haven't seen that much of him, obviously, but like I'm enjoying him a little bit more than Peter and like you know what I mean, like all the other men that they've had most recently. I think I would enjoy his season a little bit more. So bring it on, Greg. Like you're doing a good job if this is your gig right now. This is pretty good. So I don't know who she says this to, but Karl says Katie says I want to trust Karl. Why? Like it just there's nothing about him that seems trustworthy to me. Like I would have been so turned off by that date, that 18-minute seminar. Like I would have been like, nope, that's not my guy. Like then coming and telling me about I just would be, nope, I'm not into you. No. And but she also says that she wants her husband to be looking out for her. And that is what I think is going to be a problem with the season, is that all these men are going to want to be looking out for Katie. And we're going to see more of these things. As soon as they have their witch hunt on Karl, Karl's going to be out. Then they're doing their witch hunt on Thomas. Thomas is going to be out. And then who's going to be the next person that's going to be the witch? Maybe it's going to be even Greg. Who knows? But like, it's just, this is the narrative of the season, is the witch hunt. It seems like, and because Katie wants a husband to be looking out for her. And I'm like, Not in this way, Katie. It's not good. It's not good. Natalie says that she thought that Karl thought that he was on Big Brother. Many people have thought that they were on Big Brother. Karl might be okay on Big Brother.
I'd rather see him on that. His chaos would work so much better on Big Brother than on this show. Actually, I mean, this was entertaining. One of the more entertaining moments, but yeah. I don't know if he's got the strategy to make it.
Well, he probably thinks he does, and then he just says he had to phone it out first. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of his gig. So Tamika says that she thinks that they're allowing them so much power to get rid of Karl, gave them especially an power trip. Absolutely. And I think that that's because of this narrative that Katie seems to want a guy that's going to be protecting her.
Yes. And now they know that the unionization works. So I think like this is a turning point in the franchise in a way where it's like, now they realize that if everybody bands together and that's unanimous, that could have some impact on what happens, which is interesting. And it's already starting to happen again with Thomas, where it's like, okay, well, Karl, we were able to get Karl out this way. We're going to try it again here. Like, we're all fed up with this person. And it's like, there's no way production is going to let that keep happening over and over and over again, but it worked. So it's like you teach a kid something and then they just want to do that all the time. Yeah. It's really what's happening here.
Well, like Cody, even Cody being the first thing. So Cody like tells him about Cody. Cody's out. And Karl, as we're going to find out, is going to be out. And I'm sure that Thomas, he might stick around a little bit because she's into him. But like, they're going to win against Thomas for sure. Like it's just inevitable, I would say. So at the beginning of the rose ceremony, Katie says that she's confused, but she's going to follow her heart. And so she gets through calling. So David, Hunter, Conor C, and then Mike goes up. Mike P. Lovely virgin boy Mike goes up. He has a very deep voice. Like he has a very commanding voice, which I'm always like, is that Mike? Really? Not that I know what a virgin sounds like, but I guess maybe I picture like someone young, like prepubescent or something. But like he has a very deep voice, and I'm always very surprised that it's him. And so when he gets called up, he says that he wants to protect her heart. And there's a lot of sound bites of him being like, we got to come together. We got to protect our lady, our queen. Like, I'm just like, okay. Yeah. And so he says that they are acting as a unit. And
come together in solidarity. In solidarity.
And Karl is not there for the right reasons. And Katie says, do you guys all feel the same way? And all the nods around the room. Bold, Mike. Bold, bold, bold. But, I mean, effective. Good timing. So she has to kind of take a pause because this is obviously new information. She go find her girls, so Tayshia and Caitlin. And she says that she was planning on keeping Karl. So she doesn't know what to do. So who do you think was on like the cusp? Who do you think stayed? Because, spoiler alert, guys, Karl does not last the ceremony. But who do you think stays instead?
I mean, I think her keeping Karl was like one of those production-driven decisions to kind of keep the chaotic person around for a bit longer. But of who was out, I don't know.
Well, no, like
maybe John.
No. Like, because somebody else would have gone in his place, right?
Yeah.
So who stayed? Like, who got a rose that wouldn't have got a rose if Karl got a rose? Like, who's on the button there?
I guess they want us to think that it's Aaron. Yeah. But I would say like some like random person, like the other Conor who I like forgot was even there. Like, you know, like there's a few people there that I was like, oh, I actually like haven't seen you in either episode. Like I didn't even realize that you were there, but okay. Sure, you can stay.
So she comes back to the rose ceremony. Michael, Conor B, Quartney, Trey, Justin, Andrew M, Christian, Josh, Brendon, and James all get a rose. And the last man is Aaron. He gets the final rose. Karl does not get this rose, even though he says that he's getting her heart. He's winning this in the end. Like, Karl, like, no.
And he was like, I'm not leaving. It's like, yeah, you are leaving. I was like, is he really going to try and stay?
He just, like, I literally wrote that. Like, I'm not leaving. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Karl. Yes, you are. Did you see, though, the side eye he was giving her, like, standing, like, just, like.
He just, like, stood in front of her like this. With his back to her. And I was like, wait, can you just go? Like,
I thought he was going to say something. Or, like, I was like, okay, come on. And then he kind of just, like, looks over his shoulder and just kind of walks out the door.
I mean, I'm glad he didn't say anything because honestly, like, I didn't want to hear some kind of, like, pandering speech from him. But that stand in front and, like, stare was so odd. I was like, what a choice. Just get out.
Now, what about when John goes up? So who was the applause for? Because it was either for John leaving because he's such a stand-up guy, or was it because they got out Karl? Like, why do you think John?
I don't know why
was there applause?
I don't know. And I love how they're just not even bothering to show half the people who are out. They're just like, we're going to show Karl because that's the drama. And we're going to show John because we've given him more than 2 minutes of screen time. And for the rest, who cares?
Who else is gone then? So was it Garret? Is that it? Hold on, I'll pull that up.
I want to say Kyle.
Oh, yeah, Kyle's gone too. Yeah.
I remember thinking it was like 2 people from your team and 2 people from my team.
Exactly, me too. So you had Kyle and John gone, and I had Garret and Karl, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Is Garret gone? Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so this is too big right now. Where is that guy? Kyle, sorry. Let's get rid of him.
Oh, Kyle.
And John.
I agree. Justice for John. He was never going to win, but I love his woody looking life.
This is not working right now.
I respect him. Little cutie.
Not working for me properly right now, so we're just going to stop that and not get out of this.
Kyle was such a dud, eh? Kyle?
Like, he was so handsome, and then, like, he just did nothing ever.
Total flop.
Okay, let's get back to this. What's going on here? Why won't you exit? Sorry, my computer is being annoying.
I'm surprised she kept some of the other people, like, again, the other Conor, and there's, like, a few people where I'm like, what? I thought they were for sure goners, but whatever.
I mean,
half these guys don't matter.
This is the thing. Okay, so we've had 3 episodes now, and we only had one rose ceremony. Is this the first rose ceremony? No, 2.
I guess the second one, yeah.
This is the second one. And spoiler alert, we don't get another one tonight. So I'm wondering if they're trying to stretch out the season. Because we did hear that she ends production early. Like, that was like buzz before it started airing. And so I'm wondering if that's because maybe he leaves. Like, what do you think happens? Like, why are they not keeping the same format? Why are they doing like one cycle being 2 episodes? Like,
I don't know. Again, like you said this last week, and I agree every time. It's like, we're gonna tune in. So it's like, we don't need the cliffhanger. So just stop. But Katie herself posted about it, and she was like, trust me, like, you wouldn't want this to have been cut off last week. Like, it couldn't have just been thrown in. It needed to be added this way. And I was like, yeah, it could have just been like we could have just added that in and like not spent so much time on other things. But
I think it could have been edited in 2 hours to include the rose ceremony. I do not think that having like 3 minutes of fighting with Karl and her having a chit chat with the ladies and going through the rose ceremony was warranted of 7 days.
No,
it's just like not at all. Yeah, Josh. I mean, I think he's on the next.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was going to be out too because we have seen like nothing of him.
Yeah, I don't know why he's still there. I mean, maybe we'll find out next week. But who went home? So 4 people went home. So maybe they didn't want 5. So maybe he's on the next bus home for sure. For sure. So Thomas, though, gives the whole, if you're not here for the right reasons, then get out the door confessional. And I'm just like, Thomas!
I can't deal with him. I can't. He's so annoying. He's so annoying.
Tamika's with us here. She abhors these carry-over rose ceremonies, and this was so unnecessary. Exactly. Like, I don't like what's like the way that we're in the cycle of this show. Like, get back on track. I don't want the whole season to not be it. I don't want to start with the rose ceremony. Don't start with the punchline. It doesn't really work that well. It's not some
especially when we know what's going to happen. Like, we knew that Karl wasn't going to stay. We couldn't see him in the preview for anything else. Like, you show us 15 clips from the episode over the course of the week, and we don't see Karl. Yeah, he's going. So what suspense are we building? I don't understand. Like, who's like, oh my God, I really wonder who Katie's like. No, we know what's going to happen. And even if he stayed, who cares? Like, we didn't need to wait a week for that reveal. It's not worth it. Gosh.
I mean, maybe it's because they want us to be annoyed. Like, I'm not sure. They're not sure. Joseph says they didn't need to spend 20 to 30 minutes on the Karl's stuff. Exactly. I mean, they could have cut it in a little different way just to conclude the episode, and then just start the whole episode on a new, you know what I mean? On like, okay, we cut out the cancer in the house, and we're gonna start fresh. Like, that would have been really nice to have, like, okay, it's all done. And I think it would have been a better build-up for the actual episode, which was like the new villain has come to town. It's like, this is how I'm actually picturing it, is that like, it's like Karl is underneath Thomas's face. Like, if you like ripped off Thomas's face, it's actually Karl underneath, Yeah. Like, it's like he's just emerging as this new villain, and it's just kind of funny.
That Scooby-Doo meme.
Exactly. Yeah, I said really you, Karl.
I mean, last week Karl had like 7 or 8 minutes of screen time. This week they had to give that to Thomas. So thanks, guys. Love it.
I still think that Thomas is funny. Like, he's good. Like, he's decent enough. I think it's because he's just so attractive.
I'm just shocked by that. I just get I'm blown away by this. Like, I don't find him attractive at all. But maybe it's just the way he is. That's
I don't necessarily, well, I don't think he would act that way if he was with me, but like, I don't know. I just think that he'd be cute to make out with. So Katie does her cheers to finding love and being here for the right reasons. And I'm just like, this is what it is. Being here for the right reasons. That is what the theme of this episode is, and protecting Katie. Ugh, the worst. So we see some guys shirtless in a hot tub. You got a lot of points here. We have Greg, Christian for me, yay. Conor C, I guess that's the other Conor, Andrew, are all shirtless, discussing the happenings in a hot tub. Good job there. I wouldn't expect all of them to be the shirtless types, but I guess you're
just
winning.
having a soak in the hot tub.
Absolutely, little bonding sesh. And obviously they're saying like, okay, we feel great now. We feel like the drama is out of the house. Like, why couldn't they just start the episode with the guys in the hot tub? You know what I mean? Like, after, like, that would have been a great start. Anyways, they need a new story writer. So we get the date card. Michael reads the date card. It's going to be Aaron, Quartney, James, Connor B, David, Justin, Thomas, Hunter, and Brendon. Love is about honesty, and I need 100%. ... No heart, Katie? No love, Katie?
They freaked out about that. That was so funny. It's just like when you text someone when you're in high school and you're like, oh my God, like, or like not understanding the context of a text, like being like, they use this emoji, like, what does it mean? It's like, okay, who cares that there's no heart, Katie? And we know Katie doesn't write the card anyways, you know? It's the same font, the same person's handwriting every year that's not the lead. So, like, let's not take it so seriously. But they had to set the tone for what was to come, of course. So
Fill in the ellipses here. So we have all the men walk up to Katie, and she brings them into this, like, improv theater. Like, I don't even know. Like, I felt, honestly, as if I was in, what is it called? Black box theaters, where it's just like you just have like a chair with black curtains around you, and you're doing like some like stage performance, but like you want it to be completely bare because like you're baring your soul, and like there's no distraction.
My high school drama room looked like straight up. Like, this is what my high school drama room looked like.
Exactly what everybody's high school drama, like, that's what I felt. And even Justin kind of calls it out that he felt that, like, you know, what did he say? Oh, I can't remember. It looks like an intervention.
Or like a group, like a AA or NA meeting. I was like, what the hell? Sorry, before we get into this, I do want to call attention to something very serious, which is, what was Conor's look? It was a very low buttoned, like,
I thought you meant like facial expressions. The white low button shirt.
The very white low button blouse with very skinny jeans. And like, that's fine, but also what? Like, something was off about the proportions of this look. I felt very confused about the choice, and I was not sure what energy he was giving off with this. I wanted maybe like a different fit on the jean, you know, like, unbutton the shirt. Like, that's fine, live your life. Like, these guys wear some deep V's here, but like everything about that was just a standout, like, what to me as I was watching him walk up to Katie. I was like, this is a look. This is a choice.
I'm gonna try to find it before we're done here.
So jokes.
I just noticed the blouse, but like I did not see the jeans. I was looking more so for a hoodoo. And I didn't, so I got distracted by the lack of hoodoo. And so I didn't notice the fit of the denim, but I will be more cognizant next time, or I'll try to see if I can find it mid-time and see if I can pull up this picture here. Natalie has a question. So does Katie know that Andrew is Clay? I think it's cousin, isn't it?
His cousin.
Yeah, it's cousin.
Yeah, it's his cousin. I don't think she knows.
You do?
I don't think she's probably like, who's Clay?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she would know who Clay is. They don't look alike at all. I don't know if he's had an opportunity to bring that up yet. And I think that if he did, it might look like he's there for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? So I don't think she knows. No, I don't think so.
Clay's kind of a flop, so it's not even like a good person to name drop.
Yeah, no, I'd be like, shh, don't tell anybody. Like, don't worry, I won't. Okay, so leading this date is her friend, Nick Viall. So Nick Viall is leading this intervention type date where they want to know, like, she wants to hold all these guys accountable. He wants to hold these guys accountable. So if somebody has been leading people on and ghosting, cheating, wants to be the next Bachelor, and all things that Katie deserves to know. Do you think that Katie deserves to know this right now?
Not in this context. Like, not in this group share setting. Like, I get that things are accelerated here in the pursuit of love on The Bachelorette, but like, no. And why is Nick facilitating this? Like, literally, why is Nick First of all, is the flannel look all he has? Like, I'm just wondering. Because when I think of him in that red flannel shirt, and of course that's what he wore for this. And secondly, is Nick a counselor? Is Nick a trained professional? Is Nick, like, what's going on here that would possess Nick to be facilitating a conversation that's actually quite serious and very manipulative for them to be having in this setting? Like, obviously, I have a lot of problems with this. Like, so many issues. I know we were messaging about it, like, for everyone in the chat, like, we normally don't really message each other during the episode, and then we just kind of like talk about things when we record, but I could not stop myself from being like, what the hell is happening? Because this was exceptionally uncomfortable. Like, I know they do this, but this was just beyond awful for me to watch. And I know you also did not enjoy
No.
this.
Well, I mean, I've tried. I watch the watch the Vile Files every once in a while. Like, if he has a guest, I want to hear what they have to say. But he does a lot of like him kind of like with his like vocal fry thing that he kind of does because it's just like lazy in LA and he's just like always talking about like love and relationships and like how like he always makes the right choices. Like, and I'm just like, Nick, you actually aren't a good guy. Like,
No.
just because you know some of these buzz phrases and like you recognize that you weren't the best boyfriend in the past doesn't actually mean that you're recovered just because you can recognize bad behavior. And so he's always giving advice on his show, and he gets called out sometimes, people being like, who are you to be giving advice? Like, but people listen to him and he has a platform. So he's kind of become this man that's giving female advice. So he has, I think it's like a weekly show where people like Ask Nick is like the thing. So I think that that's why he was kind of here for this portion of the date. Also the fact that he was kind of the bad boy and like, on Paradise, he wasn't really well liked or well received. And so he kind of has a little bit of a narrative behind him as well that if he were on The Bachelorette, he would have to be fessing up a little bit. So guess that's why he's facilitating it, but I thought that he was unqualified. And that we already had problems with Jason and Claire having that date where he had to kind of go deep and like reveal some of these, traumatic experiences of his life and in not a safe place. It wasn't a safe place for anybody to share anything. And so just for this portion, like we're going to be touching on some of the issues that people were bringing up. And so I do want to put like a trigger warning or disclaimer right now and I'll put in the comments after around this time, just so people are aware that we're going to be talking about sensitive topics for the next 10 minutes or so. Because I was jarred, like it was jarring for me.
Yeah.
I knew it was jarring for you, some of the things that were coming up. And I just don't think that it is fair to exploit anybody and their traumatic life experiences in order to get a rose on a game show. Like, it's just not right for me.
It also sets them up, like we talked about this a bit yesterday, it sets them up in a way, like I've certainly been in positions like this before. Again, anyone that's been to art school, unfortunately, like this is a very commonplace practice where people kind of are pushed to reveal their trauma. And in a setting where it's that performative and it's for the purpose of being graded, in my case, or in this case, because you're trying to win a group date, it puts people in a position where they either feel like they need to reveal like the most personal and intense thing in a very unsafe space that's not actually a place where they should be revealing that and doesn't provide the support that they require to have that conversation. Or to kind of take the approach that a lot of the men took, which is like, I'm going to reveal something that seems like kind of serious, but it's not the most serious thing. But there's like a threshold where everyone was sitting in where it's like, we have Conor and Hunter maybe on an extreme revealing some very deep stuff, and Katie, of course. And then everyone else in this middle ground of like something that they're revealing that feels appropriate for this date. And then like Thomas on the other end of the spectrum, just like not doing anything. And it's like, that's not right. Like that shouldn't ever be a space where people have these conversations unless they know what they're getting into, have someone that's there that's able to hold that space for them adequately. That's not Nick Viall of all people and the other men in this group. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And I felt very uncomfortable by all of it, like across the board. It was just not, while some of the things people shared, I think are very important for visibility for some people to hear and understand. This was not the setting. This was not it.
Totally agree. This was not the setting. And Tamika's with us here last night. Not one trigger warning on ABC. So disturbing. Absolutely.
Such a fail.
Definitely, especially if you're going to like, if you're going to ask these people to be so revealing, like, please also respect that other people have this shared experience that may not be wanting to be living it again by watching The Bachelorette. Like, people should be able to make a choice as to whether or not they want to endure some of that or relive some of these emotional experiences. Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, there was an acting coach in Vancouver, and week 2 was, they called it emotional preparation week. And I was just auditing this class just to see, like, you know, renowned, and like everybody's like, oh my God, love this guy. And week 2, I was at their audit, and basically he asks of them to tell their deepest, darkest story of that that anything, the something that is so deep down. And so I'm like a guest in this class. Okay. Like yes, I'm a person that's not going to be sharing any of these information with anybody. And like, I can hold space just because of who I am, but like, they don't know me from anybody. And I'm hearing about people that have been sexually assaulted by like just all these things that I wouldn't wish anybody to experience, but I don't want them to be reliving it for an acting class so they can cry. Like, I just thought it was so gratuitous and self-indulgent of the teacher to be even asking people to go there, and then feeling like you weren't a good actor if you didn't go there in that way. And I just thought it was just super wrong. And so this is kind of like you, what was coming up for me is that it's like, it just was all self-indulgent, not with that, what they were sharing wasn't worthy of having this moment. Absolutely. Like, I think that it's important, like you said, but the fact that ABC just are putting these really vulnerable men in this position to feel like they have to share something so they can stay on the show, it was just so icky to me, just big time ick. If it were me, I would have probably taken the approach. We were kind of joking about this, like, you know, make something negative into a positive, kind of like a job interview type thing. I probably wouldn't have gone super deep. But the people that did, you know, I would say it's not really a point, but like revealed a very emotional story would be, for our sake of our, you know, watching, Hunter. So Hunter shares that he was married and he had a son and daughter, and he ended up destroying his marriage, and he failed as a husband, failed, and his marriage failed as a father, and he, you know, he's really remorseful for that. And I definitely really felt for him, because I think that, you know, a lot of men have had this experience, and like, you know, it's hard to come back from. And so him sharing that, I thought that was really vulnerable of him. So 5 points to Hunter. You know, you get some points in our draft for being vulnerable there, Hunter. But
extremely vulnerable. Like, he clearly wasn't bullshitting about how impactful that was on his life as well. Like, the man broke down into tears like that. I'm also curious the order in which this was actually revealed, and then how they chose to edit it, which was obviously intentional.
And why did we see everybody?
Did that start the session? Because then that's also really difficult to kind of like hold space for that and then have to follow that up. It's a difficult thing to step into after and then share. So, but, you know, kudos to him for sharing and being vulnerable. He seems to be comfortable being vulnerable, and that's kind of what we've seen of him. So thanks for sharing.
I mean, what I wrote here as I'm like, what a terrible date. Like, I'm just like soul searching. Like it just wasn't it for me. I felt really bad for these men. And then before that we hear like a little soundbite of Conor saying that he has some things in his past that he's not proud of. So we know something's coming. Aaron also, I think, will be awarded 5 points for his a little bit more deeply emotional share. His dad having a stroke and him being in a relationship with a woman, and they both were kind of using each other in times of grief. And then I guess he probably ghosted her or something like that. It wasn't very clear as to what happened, but that's what I'm piecing together. I'm not really sure what David was saying, but he said something about for love or for career. Like I guess he was with somebody and he decided to focus more on career. But men tend to do that. They can usually only focus on one thing at one time. Usually, it's like if I'm focusing on school or work, like it's like all thoughts are in that direction, and so I can understand that. But it wasn't. I don't know. I just didn't think that these are the big deal, and I don't think that this is the right date for any of these people. I felt bad. Quartney made a mistake that broke trust, so I guess he cheated. Speaking of Quartney, though, did you see the TikTok of his ex?
No.
I meant to find it. I forgot. But apparently his ex-girlfriend of 3 years, he broke up with her to go on The Bachelorette. And so, I mean, it's typical, we know the deal. And then our guy Thomas goes, and I don't know what he said. Honest to God, truth is something that I wrote down, and then I put yikes, and I put a little box around it. He was smiling the whole time when he's trying to sell whatever he was trying to sell, mentioning that, like, if I'm an open book, like, if there's any red flags, like, ask me about them, like, I'm willing to tell you. And then he was kind of, like, dissing her, I think, saying that, like, I didn't come here for you because I came here for maybe to be the Bachelor and then, like, I'm just so happy that, like, I met you and, like, everything changed. Fine, I get where you're trying to go here in that sense, but it kind of seems like he said that he was disappointed that Katie was the Bachelorette. Like, that's what I heard in my head. And that, like, now he's like, oh, well, we have some chemistry, so maybe I can stick around for a little bit.
The entire thing was underscored with that nefarious music that they put under somebody who's behaving sus, which also, like, I think maybe, like, in person must have been even more awkward with no music, listening to him go off on this tangent where he revealed nothing, which is something that he does at various points in this episode. He's like, I've got so many red flags. I can tell you all of them. And it's like, okay, so what are they? We're waiting. Like, we want to know. Everybody else has revealed something, even if it's not that big of a deal. They revealed something and you evaded everything and said nothing other than that you were admitting to kind of being a clout chaser. And then also being like, but that's not even the worst thing about me. There's so many other things, but I have deep feelings for you now. It's like, no. And then the smile made it worse, way worse. And I get it if some people can't help but smile. But in the case of Thomas, it comes off as very disingenuous to me, not disingenuine.
Oh, I knew it. That was what I definitely noticed.
Like, it just, like, did not land, and it made everyone even more pissed off because then it seems like he's, like, not taking this seriously when so many people went so deep. It feels even worse the way that he approached this.
Absolutely, because obviously I don't think that this was the right setting for any of these discussions. But, like, Thomas, also read the room here. And, like, if you don't feel like sharing something, it's also in your right to say, do you know what? Like, I do have some personal things that I've experienced in my life that I'm not proud of, but I'm also not comfortable with sharing them on this date. If you wanted to ask about them to me in private, absolutely. But this isn't the right setting for me. I don't feel comfortable. And that would have been... maybe people would think it would be sus, but I think that would be, if we're talking about boundaries and we're talking about, like, consent, like, I think that asking people to go to these places, there needs to be some sort of consent that, I don't know if these men felt safe in saying no to sharing these experiences. And so I also thought it was very unbalanced with what they're trying to say with what they were doing to these people. Like, I do feel like they were objectifying them, that it just was, but then they want to be vulnerable, but then they're not really allowing them to say no if they don't feel comfortable with that. I thought it was just bad. Mm-hmm. And then I was watching, I think his name is Dave Neal. He does a lot of Bachelor content, and he does a voicemail show right after the episode. And all these people were coming on the voicemail, these women that were really so proud of this episode and so proud of, like, you know, Katie's braveness. And absolutely, it's brave, like, definitely. But I definitely felt that it wasn't handled in a very great way. And I was very surprised that a lot of people are giving a lot of applause to the care that The Bachelor was taking with this episode.
They didn't handle it correctly in the sense that they did provide resources after. I mean, first of all, it's kind of tough because you're providing resources as it comes to sexual assault, but then you also touched upon substance abuse in the case of Conor and his reveal, and whatever other, you know, mental health issues came up in that conversation. For you to just provide resources for one thing and not the other thing is like, But then also the lack of the trigger warning, which we've already kind of touched upon. It's not actually handling it well. And while it's sure, in the same way that they showed Ivan talking to Tayshia about race and them having a reckoning about that conversation, yeah, it's good to see that conversation existed, but were they handled well? No, I don't think so. And it's fair to be critical of that because this show does the bare minimum when it comes to actually handling any of these topics delicately. And I don't trust that the motivation isn't just to make it as dramatic or as riveting of television as possible beyond protecting the interests of the people here. And maybe these people felt comfortable sharing in that setting. I don't want to speak for everyone, but at least Katie voiced that she felt that it was a safe space. And guess what? That can change after a while if you think about it and you're like, actually, I didn't enjoy sharing in that space. You can convince yourself a lot of things about that. And I'm not saying that's what she's doing. I'm just saying a lot of people do things in the moment that they think feel right. And then later on, you're like, oh, that wasn't okay.
Yeah, I wish I didn't do that. There might have been something like, and you think it's like you overcoming something, but really it was your gut saying like, this isn't the right space, you know?
No.
So lastly to touch on is Conor. So Conor, so he was pretty terrified about sharing when he was younger. He was in grad school. He was working at a piano bar where he was able to drink for free, and it seems as though he was drinking excessively. He ended up speaking poorly with his girlfriend, to his girlfriend whenever he was drunk, and he would be blackout, so he wouldn't necessarily remember these things. And there was at least one time of him cheating on his then girlfriend. And so he did mention that he got some help. He's read a lot of self-help books, so hopefully that he's in a place now where there's no falling back on that. And I do respect the fact that he has put in some work that he was sharing. But he was just another person that just felt really bad that he felt that he needed to share that in that moment. And I don't know. I felt bad for these guys, you know? Definitely. But the music does roll in with the swells. So definitely they wanted us to really feel something for Conor. Now, I'm a very emotional person. And I didn't shed a tear this episode, but I had a lot of people seeing messages being like, I've never cried so much on The Bachelorette. Memes of like the camera guy was even crying. Like, did you get emotional?
No, I don't think I was able to access that level of emotion just because I was having a difficult time kind of reconciling, watching how much these people were being exploited. And I know that this show does that. I do think that's interesting and maybe points to a greater conversation about the lack of conversation that's had about these things. And maybe people are having an emotional reaction to it because it's not something that they are faced with all the time. So like I said, there's a piece to visibility, and that helps because it means that people can feel seen or feel comfortable sharing those things. But again, I wouldn't want someone to ever feel like they had to share something in this setting. And I think that was where I was not able to kind of get past it, even though a lot of what was being said was emotionally affecting for sure. Like very, very, and then it doesn't help also to have Mike Fleiss tweeting, oh, you don't want to miss this episode. Like, we've never gone this deep before, like acting like it's like a promo. Like, come on, like if this is really where this was going, then I feel like they could have even presented the promos leading into this date a little bit better also, just so people had a bit more awareness of what was going to happen, because it's just not like something to just like throw around like that, like, oh, you don't want to miss this TV. Like that just felt very to me.
Yeah, I guess for me, the reason why I didn't get emotional is that I didn't feel safe for them. Yeah, I think that you're right there. I didn't feel like it wasn't the moment for me. It wasn't the time. It wasn't the environment. It wasn't the right setting. Like there's nothing about how these were revealed were organic, and like it was a share moment that like, you know, like there wasn't any tenderness. Like, yes, like I do believe that Katie was being warm and very receptive and open. I absolutely think that she was being a great listener into all these stories, 100%. I'm not taking that away from her as being a good listener and potentially a good partner. I just didn't feel like I could go there with the men without me being like, you don't need to do this. It's okay. Like this is the unfairness of it. I just don't think I was allowing myself to go there with them, because it's just so the injustice. I don't know. It was too uncomfortable for me, and I was just cringing. It was bad. It was bad. So we cut away from that scene, and we go to Michael. So Michael also shared an emotional story, and this one I could get a little bit more emotional with because it came out organically. And so Michael was talking about the weight that he has on his shoulders, being that he met his wife. He still calls Laura his wife in 2003, and they were married, I think, for 16 years, or they were together for 16 years. And after they got married, they had a child, a son. And then she was diagnosed with cancer 7 months after she had her son, and she ended up passing away a few years later, I believe. I'm not exactly sure of the timeline. But the way that he talks about his wife and what he was going through, that was getting to me. I didn't cry because I think I was still irritated by like the previous scene. But like, I was connected with his story because it came out in a more authentic way. How'd you feel? Yeah.
When he wanted to share that, he wanted to share it. He felt comfortable sharing that with the people that he was talking to in that scene. And as we'll discuss later, he feels comfortable sharing that with Katie. That's different to me. It's maybe it's kind of two sides of the same coin, but it didn't feel the same way as the group date felt.
Agreed. I thought it was beautiful that he said that he's only said "I love you" to one person. Oh. Sweet.
I feel for him. That's like a really, tragic situation, and he seems to have a lot of self-awareness, and normally would kind of be like, why is, someone whose spouse has passed away coming on this show? But for him, maybe it actually is a way for him to kind of like break out of the routine of his life since then, and, find himself kind of shaking up like what his life looks like, and he's ready to kind of step forward in that. So I don't want to take that away from him in any way. I think he seems very authentic to me.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm not sure where Katie shared her part, but I didn't even write it down. So I guess I was just so frustrated and bothered by this whole date. But just lastly, just to touch on it, like she was definitely very brave to share what she experienced. And what it made me feel like, I was like, well, Nick should also share something, because like in those type of like trust circles, it's only, or everybody getting naked, or you know what I mean? And those type of things, like for the container to be kind of contained, everybody kind of needs to share. And so because Katie did share, she's no longer like an observer kind of looking at everybody and what they've experienced. And so I don't know if Nick shared and didn't show on the actual episode what he shared, because they did not show everybody's, emotional situation. But I really feel like it would have been important maybe for me to feel more okay with this circle is if Nick also shared, because it just seems like he's also just there to watch and judge.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's
like it
judge.
could have just been Katie and the guys, and then that would still be not great, but it would be better than having him there in this like pseudo facilitation role, or like kind of enforcing the agenda of the day in a weird way. I didn't appreciate. I absolutely appreciate what Katie shared. I think it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. I stand in support of survivors always, and that's very important to me. And she herself said that it felt liberating for her to share that, and that she felt a sense of relief. So I'm glad that she felt that way. I was reading on her Instagram as well, a lot of comments, and she had shared the resource Rain on her Instagram. And one of the good things to come of this is that there is a lot of strength and visibility, as we've seen, even looking at the Me Too movement, or ways that people have felt comfort to be able to kind of tell their story. So while I'm still very sus about the date and I do not like everything that happened, there's a lot of people in her comments that are feeling very seen by what she shared. And I'm happy that that created a connection for them, and that the resources provided for them. And I hope for those who feel comfortable to tell their story, that encourages them to also, be able to speak their truth. And for those who don't, that's also okay. And ultimately, that conversation is something that people should be having. I don't know, again, that this was handled correctly on this show, but I'm also not Katie, so I can't say how she felt. She felt
100%. Comfortable.
So I really appreciate her sharing that. And I think that is very powerful that she did share what happened to her.
Absolutely. And I think it's very hard for men to hear this. And so I do feel as though the men handled it quite well, just because I'm sure that they were reckoning with any time where something might have been a gray area, where was that consensual, was that not, I'm sure that growing up as a man, like, that is things that you probably have had to reckon with, or seen somebody do something that may have been a little bit like, oh no, cross the line. And so I do think that the men kind of handle it. And I hope that it made them think about, how they treat women and in dates. And, just because we're sexually liberated, it doesn't mean that it means more than just the dildo. It means more than just having sex. And so I do appreciate that it's showing a little bit more depth, at least in her understanding of sexual energy and sexual relations and stuff. So I do feel that her portion was, because she's the lead and she's choosing to share this. And so I felt that was a little bit more contained, you know what I mean? Like, because she's saying that she felt safe. I was feeling safe for her, but the men, I didn't feel safe for them because they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. And I think that that's enough of talking about this terrible date. I just hope that the Bachelor, Bachelorette, just we think it's funny that we're giving 5 points for the people with the emotional story because it's a trope, but it's not actually a trope. It kind of it's, I don't really want to exploit people's the pain that they're going through. And so I just wish that they would just take a different angle sometimes, but that's the show. This is our show. This is what we got here. So for the night portion, I like the little dress that Katie was wearing, but the oversized blazer, it doesn't work for me for her. I love an oversized boyfriend blazer look. I think it's super chic, super cute. But for Katie, I don't know if it's because she's so small or because it doesn't seem like it's her personal style really. it didn't make sense to me. Also, her hair was just like in a low slick back pony, which worked for me with just the dress, but with the blazer, I was kind of like, she needed maybe a higher heel, a shorter skirt. It needed to be less boyfriend baggy. Like, it just wasn't working for her. It was swallowing her up. But I thought that the look idea was cute. It just didn't suit Katie for me.
Yeah, this wasn't my favorite episode of looks for her. I definitely think the previous episode was much better styling for her. This one I wasn't loving, and nothing really stood out to me.
Yeah.
She honestly is beautiful and like looks really good in a lot of things. And I actually I like the way that they're doing her makeup. But yeah, I don't know. Something's off about the proportions of what she was wearing.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like a different stylist coming in that's a little bit more funky, and like Katie's not really funky. We can tell Katie's not that funky by the type of tips that she has on, because like she has definitely her nail extensions or whatever, her gel tips are very square.
The white nails.
With the white nails, super square, like it's like a French manicure with the white tips. But what the look is right now is super almond or ballerina or coffin shape. Like those are what's like in fashion right now. So even if she had those nails, I think it would sell me on the blazer. But the fact that she does not have nails that are in style, she can't, for me, be wearing an oversized blazer. It's like it just didn't work for me. It's just not her style. But she's still really cute. I'm starting to stand Katie just because I feel like she needs my support. You know, like I'm rooting for you, Katie. I want you to do well.
I really enjoy the way she's handled herself so far. I do. I think that she is a very interesting Bachelorette in that I don't know. There's something about her that feels very real and very just kind of grounded, or at least like even the way, like, remember how like last season people would say things to Matt and he would just say like, thanks for sharing, or the same type of comments over and over. I feel like Katie's a very, very like actually receptive listener and has enough life experience to be able to relate with a lot of compassion. And that comes through to me as like feeling very genuine. And I guess we saw flashes of that, like even with the drama last season, with Sarah and her revealing what was happening with her father, and Katie really relating because her father had passed away, and just like kind of like being able to hold that space. I think there is a level of realness to Katie that I'm appreciating more and more and getting to see more and more as we go on. So I actually do like her so far as the Bachelorette quite a bit.
Yeah, I like her more than Claire.
Claire.
But yeah, but like because we started this journey where it's like, who's Katie? We don't really know who she is. So it's nice that like I'm enjoying this ride so far. It could be because like the men are just such a hot mess, but yeah, I'm down. I'm down with Katie as the Bachelorette right now. I'm happy to be talking about this, like her season.
Yeah.
So Natalie's saying next week we see a pepper proposal group date. I just saw some pictures of it. So I hate those dates, but okay, that's kind of.
Will Franco be there to take photos?
Absolutely, he has to be. I need to see Franco's fashion. Just got to see him. Justin and Katie have a little bit of a date, or a little one-on-one time, and she wants to kiss him because like he's trying to take a nice little Polaroid selfie, and she just like grabs his face to like.
Selfies were so cute. The little Polaroids, I like
very
that.
cute. I'm so obsessed with him because of those facial expressions. He was already a cutie pie. But like,
we stand.
Just love him. And I want to know what his reaction is to our reaction of him. You know, I can't wait to see. He's not winning, I don't think. I hope that he goes to paradise though, because I need to see more Justin in my life.
I know.
Okay, and then we get to our guy, my guy, Thomas. I put in brackets, I'm cringing.
Oh my God.
So she asks, what are the red flags? She's like, I don't want to be blindsided.
She's like, now that we're in a group setting anymore, can you tell me what the red flags are? I thought that was such good shade too.
And then she's like, I kind of feel like you're dodging a question here. And he's like, okay, yeah. And like, so I know that you were going to take a look at this this passage. Were you able to transcribe?
I did transcribe what he said when he came back and interrupted. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so we'll get to that part. So already now from like this date, the guys are starting to turn on Thomas. They're starting to talk about what he said on the date, about the fact that he, had thoughts about being the Bachelor. And so who says this? My nerves were rattled. Oh, so Thomas is kind of, after he has his moment with Katie, he leaves and he's kind of like making excuses as to why it didn't really go that well. And I think because he didn't get a kiss at the end of that date.
And because she was not buying what he was selling.
Well, he didn't sell anything.
Like, she was just like, okay, we'll see. Like it was really like, all right, Thomas, I'm not getting where you're going. And he still didn't reveal the red flags, by the way.
What maybe he doesn't know what a red flag is. I'm trying to think. Thomas, I think, doesn't really know what to share, doesn't want to look like a bad guy. He has the producers probably telling him one thing. Like, I think that he just doesn't know what to do. I'm going to give him the I'm a young guy like award here. And he just doesn't know how to be a man in this situation and kind of fess up to something that would make sense. I just think he doesn't know what to do.
Or he's done something really bad and doesn't want to share that. Which again,
he's a cheater type. Like I'm sorry, okay, I shouldn't put that out there because I don't know for sure, but I can see like being unfaithful would maybe be the narrative that he doesn't want to share. That's kind of what it seems like to me. I hope that he isn't, obviously, but like that's kind of what it feels like. Mm-hmm. That kind of vibe. Even with how he's kind of covering it up or not covering up or saying red flags, or I just like, I think that he's probably not been the best boyfriend. He's very attractive. I'm sure that he's, dated a lot of women at the same time and maybe wasn't completely honest with all of them all the time. So I think that those are probably the red flags that he doesn't want to share because he doesn't know how to share them in a way that makes him look good. So I think that's why he's avoiding the question. Oh God, Thomas, just like figure it out. I still want to root for you, but like you're messing this up for us. You're on my draft team. I don't want you to go anywhere. Come on, stay as the villain, figure it out. Get some coaching from the producers as to how to deal with being like confronted all the time. And why are you shaking your head?
He's just like Josh for me. Like, I know we talked about it in the comments. So he's like Josh. And I know he looks like Josh, but he's also like Josh in the way that the lead is buying, or it seems like even after the second interaction that Katie has with him, which I transcribed, in which he says nothing of value. For some reason, the lead is buying it in the same way that Andy bought it with Josh, where I'm just like, it's so fake seeming. Like, everything about him doesn't seem real. Like, what is he saying? Like, to me, he's like kind of like Josh with like a dash of a Brian, where it's like there's some kind of like charm that he's trying to sprinkle on, even though now we know Brian to be like, an actual stand-up guy, and him and Rachel are great. But the way he was presented in the show was kind of like this charming, like kind of like suave guy.
Womanizer.
Yes, exactly. With the Josh like look and Josh overall energy. And I just don't buy what he's selling at all. At all.
I don't buy what he's selling at all. But I don't know who came up with this term, but I think she's stigmatized. Like, maybe. I think that she really is turned on by him and just like can't believe that he's into her. I just think that it's that. I think that she has a visceral, like, sexual connection to him that she probably doesn't have with a lot of people. And so I think that energy is clouding her judgment on what he's actually saying because she's stigmatized.
And he's love bombing her and saying that he loves her already, and then he has like serious feelings for her, and that he has never felt this way, and that's a tactic. That's a way to convince someone that you feel strongly, only for you to fuck them over later. So,
Okay, so Joseph says, do you think that the men attacked Thomas because he was the favorite after this week to get the final rose, and it's the whole mob pack mentality to go 20 versus 1 Thomas instead of against Thomas instead of 101. I could see that, you know, they could be worried for Katie for the fact that it does look like she's falling for him, given he got the group date rose last episode. So I could see them being like, oh my God, like we're hearing that he only came here to be the Bachelor, and then like he can't defend himself. Like I can see it's just fueling their fire to like be getting out somebody that could potentially be stealing their spot, but is probably not a great guy. So I kind of guess. I kind of think.
I mean, he also says like that his time is more valuable than Aaron's time, and he also says that he was trying to be the lead. Like he says things directly to them where they're just like, what? And then also lies about what he says to other people.
So Aaron does have some time with Katie, and they didn't really start getting into anything. And Aaron, like, relax. You're not into Katie anyways, but like, fine. We see Thomas lurking in the background. Now, 100% the producers are like, go. Just go talk to her. If you feel like you need to talk to her, go. There's no way that he came up and he wanted to do that on his own. But what an awkward moment.
Like the number one thing that you don't do is talk to her twice in one night. This pisses everybody off. Like this never makes anybody happy when you have that extra time. This is always a problem. Like you must know that that's not going to go well. But he doesn't care actually when anyone else does. So
he ends up breaking up, you know, Aaron and Katie, and this is where the dramatic moment comes. Can we hear what is said to Miss Katie? Why he needed to come back, interrupt the Aaron date, what he had to say to Katie.
This is like literally straight from the Donald Trump school of like not actually saying anything with your words. So he says, as soon as I walked away from you, it was just put on my heart so heavy that I had to just come express where I was coming from. What I feel with you, and you understand that I'm having, is that fear and love are two very similar things rooted in the same concept. And when I look at you and the things that I feel with you, I feel both of those so strongly at the same time. And I couldn't leave tonight without letting you know exactly how special that I see you and how special feeling that fear was again. And I haven't felt this way in as long as I can remember. I feel an energy that's just such a strong pull to you, and I need you to know that. I need you to know that.
I don't know what he said. I was almost like buying it though when he's like, "Sir, the fear and love thing, they're so close." Okay, I get this. And Tanya,
I like don't understand. No red flags still. I still don't know what they are.
I want to know the red flags. Thomas, you're going to have to share these red flags or you're going to go home.
And how special feeling that fear was again? Like, what am I doing?
I mean, when you read it, it sounds good. Like, I kind of like, I'm into it.
Oh my God. He is a joke.
But yeah, it made zero sense. I don't even know what I wrote down here. I put fear and love so close. So special. Is he going to say he loves her? I'm like, I need you, and then I put in quotes, I need you to know that.
I need you to know that.
And so I put, is she sold? And then I wrote after that, I think that he needed to kiss her in order to get her back in, because I think I mentioned to you this before. My acting coach, a good one, said that if the kiss ain't great, legs don't separate. And I think on The Bachelor, if the kiss ain't great, you don't get a rose. So I think that he was just making sure that he was sticking around because they have some good chemistry in their smooches.
I mean, it's the one thing that he knows he actually has with her is some physical chemistry. So sorry, I know. I even saying it felt not great because we're so far past that point, but it was just the same school of rhetoric of just like, you didn't say anything, but you said a lot of words technically, but like what was actually expressed was zero in that paragraph.
I don't fault you, Tanya. I got the reference. Don't worry. So Tamika's agreeing, though, that Brian was definitely portrayed as a complete game player, next to Dean and next to Peter. Absolutely. Because like I was falling for that. I was like, oh, I didn't really know that she was into him. Like I bought it.
Fell for it. We all fell for it.
So I was kind of like, I thought that they had good chemistry and like they kissed on the first night. He got the first impression rose, I believe. And like, I was like, whoa, these are like real kisses. Okay. Like right away. And then we didn't really see their love story really grow. And that's something that Rachel said many times that she's kind of upset by is that, it was documented, but not like factually what happened between them in their relationship. So
yeah,
I do wish
now we know they spun that narrative and she goes into detail about that in her article once again, where it's just like they didn't want that to be the happy ending. They wanted it to be about her relationship with Peter. And really, she clearly has a strong and great relationship with Brian. And there was a lot there that wasn't shown. And they robbed her of that kind of happy ending that they deserved. So
oh, that article is just so it is the tea, except for the titles, but that could be a whole podcast in its own. I'm talking about like how they did her dirty, even though they were lying to be so honest. Like they still did her dirty.
Oh,
so Aaron obviously comes back to the group, tells all the guys what had happened. So the guys are starting to get all pumped up about the fact that Thomas is horrible, etc. Conor is like, well, she won't give her a rose. And I wrote down, ha, 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 of course she will. Of course she's getting a rose. I don't know if he's going to get the group date rose, but like, oh no, he didn't get the group date rose. But like, I don't know if he's going to stay. He's sticking around. I don't think he's going to go yet. What do you think?
Well, I thought after their first interaction in this group date setting that she was like not buying it, but then she did end up just like reciprocating the kiss and like totally seeming okay with that stupid speech that he gave. So I don't know.
Maybe it was longer and they just cut it up to make it look dumb.
I'm not giving him any credit.
So back at the house, we hear a knock, knock, knock. Oh my God. I thought it was hilarious how startled that Andrew S. got. I was like, and they kind of build it up for the audience too. Like because it was kind of like sinister music that was playing over like with Aaron, and they're all mad at I'm about to call him Josh, at Thomas, and then it was like knock, 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 and it was like super loud knocking. And so it is going to be the next date card, and it says Michael A. Love is an adventure. Heart Katie. So I get some points. 5 points here. Yay! Got a date. A one-on-one. And so back though to the guys. So Thomas is trying to like defend himself with these guys, saying that like, I had to go back there to tell her that I loved her, but then he didn't tell her that he was falling in love with her. Even though I thought he was going to do that, and he didn't. But then he said to the guys that he did.
He did.
And then he said that he didn't. I'm like, what's he doing? Tanya, what's he doing? What's our guy doing?
I don't know. I actually don't understand. Other than he's obviously not there for the right reasons. And as so much as admitted it at this point. And I also think, again, he mentioned to Katie that even I didn't want it to be you or something like that. Or like I wasn't thinking it was going to be you. Like he mentioned it again when he was talking to her. And I was like, oh my God, what?
You think that he wanted it to be Michelle?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what he's doing or where they found this guy. I don't even remember what his job is.
I don't remember either. So he does not get the group date rose. Conor B obviously gets the group date rose here. I think that she's already kind of connected with him, and his story was, they saved it for the last, and I think that he handled the story quite well. So it made sense to me that he was going to receive this particular rose, but I would have loved the chaos if Thomas had received it. Like,
Did you feel like this was maybe a turning point? I know that Conor did get the group date rose, but did you feel like this is maybe a turning point in the Conor-Katie relationship where it seems like now we've kind of come around to a place where he clearly likes her more than she likes him? Because their kiss was like kind of ox more than the other ones were.
I don't really enjoy them kissing ever. And is it him? He also asked for, like, if he can kiss her too. Is it only, like, I know Michael does, but does he do it too?
Yeah, two of them do that. I don't remember if he did in this episode, but I just remember thinking they had better chemistry in the other kisses, even though they're always kind of like a little bit like forced intensity. But in this one in particular, it seemed like they were just like something was kind of off. So I was surprised that she gave him the rose in that regard, because I had kind of clocked in their previous interaction that it seemed like I'm noticing a little bit of the imbalance there between how he feels and how she feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think not that she's judging him on that situation, but maybe she's also still processing that.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, not to say that people can't shift, change, grow, learn, adapt, any of those things. And,
yeah, of course.
But if I had learned that somebody that I was dating had that kind of thing happen, I would be thinking about it a little bit. And I might not be like, ooh, I want to make out with you right now. And so That's could true. Be forced potentially because she's still kind of wrapping her head around who he is and who he might be in a relationship with her, and whether or not she is wanting to go down this angle with him, because what if he has a relapse and he starts treating her that way? Like, I just think that he just opened up some different thoughts that she wasn't having about him before that may not have lended to her being so into the kiss, True. Not to say that she won't get over it, but I think that she just maybe still needs some time to process what he's shared with her. And they might have to have more conversations about it.
That's true.
Other than the one in front of Nick Viall. Like, anyways, so you got 5 more points there. And so I wrote down, is another feud happening with Aaron? So there's just the tattletale, like, I don't want all these people just running to Katie and telling her, like, oh, this is a guy's a bad guy. Like, she'll figure it out. She's not going to marry Thomas. Just let it go. He doesn't handle himself well anyways. Like, he's going to shoot himself in his own foot. You do not need to push him off the ledge. Just let him be. He'll get his just desserts, But yeah, Hunter is not buying Thomas. Aaron is not buying Thomas. So I don't know if there's going to be some feud points in there for those guys for sure. And then I wrote down at the bottom there, oh, Justin's looks. I need to make a montage for Tanya. That was the moment where I wrote that down. Highlight. So Katie wants Michael to have fun with her. And I thought this was a very friend zone date. We always kind of thought that anybody that gets like the dirt bikes and like the drag cars and like those type of dates usually are very friend zoney. And so she, we see her driving the dune buggy, she flips it, and then she finally gets to him who's waiting by himself, like in the middle of the desert, as if he's about to be murdered by some cartel or something. But like,
standing in the dust.
It's the tumbleweed coming along. And so I didn't really write that down that much about their date after, but I did write that I hate the sheepish, can I kiss you it's not sexy to me at all. I understand that we're trying to be considerate of people's boundaries. So I'm not saying that do not do that. Absolutely. But there's just something about how he does it that is like, I just be like, no thanks. That if there was a moment, it's gone.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. To be honest, I feel bad saying this because I know he revealed a lot of like really deep stuff. And I do think the conversation that he had about his wife and what he went through in the dinner portion of this date was very meaningful and very powerful. And like clearly they were both in tears and it was a whole moment. But I kind of also felt the friends, not even a friend zone thing. I honestly thought like maybe she might not even keep him. Like initially in the beginning of the date, I was just like, like there's not really a natural flow there. He's not doing anything wrong. It just didn't seem quite there. So I think maybe the depth of conversation and like as far as like God in terms of understanding each other and speaking about his loss and everything. And I think she handled her response to that also so well and was really able to articulate how she felt and also hold a lot of space for him. But like, yeah, I don't know. I was, yeah.
I really thought it was a friend zone date. And I 100% agree with you that I didn't think that he was going to get a rose on this date. And I do believe that she changed her tune with the story because not that it wasn't truthful and wasn't beautiful, and she was definitely moved. And I don't think that he was doing it to be kind of self-indulgent or anything like that. But I think that, he said one line, what a gift to fall in love twice. And I wrote it down. She wrote it down. Like she clocked it to even retell it in her confessional.
He had some lines.
And I think that the beauty of the romanticness of that story, I think, and her potentially being the second person that he says, I love you to, like, I think that she kind of got swept up in the whole magic of this potential love story. If it were to play out that way, that I think that it bypassed her not being that into him. I don't think she's into him.
And she didn't want to give him the impression, I think, maybe she does feel this way truly, and I don't want to take that away from her, but she didn't want to give him the impression that, like, because of his history and because of the depth of love that he had for his wife who passed, Laura, and, like, the love that he has for his son and all of that, like, that he's not capable of loving someone else again in that way, and that couldn't be her. But also that is tough, right? Like, that is tough to
position to be in as a next partner. Absolutely.
Especially in this setting. It's not like they met like outside of the show and that happened in that way. I think like maybe for him, this show is a great way for him to break out and like change his life and kind of like
meet someone new
for him. But like the reality that like he's going to end up winning this show after navigating all of that personal trauma and coming on here, I don't think is likely, but I also don't think she wanted to send him home on that or to make him feel like that way. And she did say, like, I don't think that you're not capable of loving me. Like, she did articulate that. So I get it, but like, it's tough, right? Like, you have to acknowledge that that's not an easy position to step into after you've gone through something like that. Even if they're perfectly capable of moving forward, it's difficult. Like
100%.
That's a very, very deep life-changing experience.
And unless you've been through it, you probably could never even understand where he is, what he's gone through, and how he's looking at life again, and a new partnership. But she does say that she's offering this rose to also his son, James. And so she is recognizing that there is a family that she, and their whole heart and dynamic. And so I do feel like she's caught up in the story here, and she didn't want to break his heart on this particular date.
Yeah.
And he might stick around for a while. It's not because of the story, but I just don't feel like she's going to want to let him go this early because I just don't think she wants to.
And he does seem like a nice guy, right? Like,
So Joseph's saying that he thinks that he could see people getting behind Michael as the Bachelor. The fact that he took this step to find love after losing his wife to cancer is huge, and doing it on national TV takes balls. I don't know if would give it to him, because I don't know if he. Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but like if he brings in the audience and like the dates and like I don't know if he can give out that much energy in that way. But I mean, I wouldn't be against it. Like, I'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? You're like, no?
No, I like it as an idea because, like, I think, for the right reasons, like, he seems to be doing it for the right reasons as much as anybody that could choose to go on the show would. And that is a story that people, I think, could rally behind. This person who's experienced, a big loss in their life and the love of their life, and now they're ready for love. Like, this is like, the perpetual story that The Bachelor wants, and they've certainly crafted a narrative out of much less. I guess it just depends how far he goes. And I was trying to think about what his social media gains were. Not to diminish it, but we do know part of it is how they reach the audience and how people engage with them. So even though Peter was a flop loser, people cared after we slept together 3 times in a windmill situation, and he kind of sorry, my bad. How can I take that away from him? So like, I think the engagement unfortunately does matter. Although, did Katie have that much engagement? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they just wanted to have a completely different narrative than the Nate race narrative of Matt James's season. So they just wanted something like completely different that everybody can get behind. And it was still kind of championing something very important, which is bullying and whatnot. And so I think that they just want to have a cause that they can just jump onto with Katie right away and go with it. And her being the regular girl, sex positive, I think that they just wanted something completely different than what it was with Matt James's season. And so I think that's why Katie was there this year. So on the end of the date, it's nighttime, and there's some sort of trap door that they climb out of onto the roof. And they're kind of cuddling on the roof and chatting and stuff like that. And I wrote down, oh, shut the F up. A shooting star, please. Please. Like, I mean, I've seen many shooting stars in my life, but like, do you think that shooting star was real? Tell me.
No, absolutely not. The shooting star on O'Brien's belt?
The Irishman? I did think that was kind of cute little moment. She said something. Oh, Michael A. Royal pain in the ass star. So I don't know. I didn't really buy their banter. It was a little forced for me, but he's going to stick around for a little while, and I'm happy if he gets people sliding into his DMs. He's like, I would like to see him have opportunity, because I do feel like what he shared was important, was special, and he's probably going through something that most of us will never experience. So I hope the best for him. I just don't think it's going to be with Katie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the last stuff that I kind of wrote down about this episode, obviously, was the Thomas stuff. So we had the Hunter and Thomas fight. So some points there. And then
Hunter told him, he did warn him and said, what you're doing is not working out with the guys. Like, I'm telling you, don't keep pushing this, because if it goes to the rose ceremony, it's not going to be good. So he did try, Katie Thurston style, to have the one-on-one conversation and try and tell Thomas what's really happening and how people are feeling about him. But Thomas, it doesn't matter.
No. Well, Aaron is talking to the other Conor, thinking that Thomas is a psychopath. And I'm like, I don't know. I think, as I said already a couple times, but I do think the producers are in his ear for him to do certain things. I do feel like he has another agenda, being that like he wants a popularity. and maybe get the girl in the end. That would be, that would work out for a bit. I don't think he thinks he's going to marry Katie, but I think that he could stand being the final guy for a couple of years. I think that he would be willing to do that. He's still pretty young. And I don't think that he's good with his words. Like, I don't think he's good with playing this villain role. And so I don't think he's a psychopath, but I think he has all those things kind of building up that he just doesn't really know how to handle effectively. Just because it's just quite unnatural to be like, hey, you're going to be the villain now. So go and interrupt and be really obnoxious and annoying for clout. So
yes,
it's a new role for him.
It's a defense mechanism to not engage with the intensity that everyone's engaging him in. But it also pisses them off more because they're getting such a rise out of his behavior, and he's giving them back smiles and kind of calm. Like, he's not really heated when he's defending himself. So
but it's only because the producers are like, don't worry, man, we got you. Like, if you're the producer pick, that they're going to, whatever you do, it's okay. They're going to keep you around. So,
and it won't be as easy as the Karl thing was to just you're obviously setting it up for them to all band together against him again, but I think this time around it might backfire on some of them who choose to be the more vocal people in engaging this with Katie, because I don't think she's gonna go for it as well as she did with the Karl thing. Or I don't think she wants to be told what to do in that way, because it's also kind of taking away her power, which, to be honest, she probably doesn't have full power of who stays every week, but no one wants to be told what to do when they're in charge, right? No. It just doesn't feel nice.
Not at all. So lastly, we have Sophie Dopey here, draft updates. So let's lastly get these draft updates. I don't know the points totals for today, but Tanya is blowing me out of the water here. Whatever, but we'll just take a little peek-see again. See if my computer is working effectively now, hopefully. Kind of is. Okay, so right now, before this episode is tallied, you had 160 points. I have 105 points. I do believe you also got more points this episode. You have one more person than I do. I have a lot of people that are probably going to be gone very soon, though. I think Trey, Thomas, Michael, and maybe David will be, maybe Christian might start coming forward because he's had a few confessionals this episode. So maybe he's going to have a little bit of a glow up. I'm not sure.
Brendon, we're waiting for Brendon. He'll be around for some reason.
With his guy. His guy's coming. It's Blakey.
Next week.
Coming. Yeah, week 4. So we'll see if maybe they're going to have some a bro thing going on, so maybe he's going to stick around a little bit. But you have some pretty good front runners here. I think Andrew S. is looking like he's going to go quite the distance. Blake is not coming here for nothing, so he's probably going to stick around for a while. Conor B. probably around for a while. Greg, obviously, for a while. And then everybody, and Mike even, I think, for a while. And Justin. I mean, you got a pretty good stacked set. I think Quartney, Josh, Conor C, and Aaron are they're going to be out before those other guys.
They'll be out sooner than later.
So, yes, you're doing pretty well. I'll get some roses for the rest of this week and have a little update there. So that's pretty much all I have for the episode, right? I didn't just stop writing, did I? I might have.
No, that's it, yeah.
No rose ceremony. I'm always just confused. I'm like, is that how it ended?
Yeah, this is prior to the second group date. So we're not even close to a rose ceremony, which is wild.
Wild. But I am looking forward to watching next week. As we said in the beginning, this wasn't our favorite. The first and second episode I enjoyed a lot more, but I still am enjoying it on a whole, and I'm looking forward to whatever mess comes from Blake Moynes, from Canada.
And Tasha, I've been contacted, someone from my past. So oh God, I guess they had to make that connection somehow, as if Blake and Katie hadn't been talking before, which they were.
Blake, that's his thing. He talked to Clara beforehand. Anyways,
he read a book, okay? He read a book.
Read a book. So Louis says, I still don't get the dynamic of having Caitlin co-host with Tayshia. Caitlin looks so awkward and barely says anything to add to the show. I think they're trying to figure out their footing here. I think that they don't know what they're supposed to say or what's supposed to do, if they're supposed to be like Chris, but there's two of them, or if they're supposed to try to carve their own new thing. I hope that as the season goes on, their role becomes a little bit more defined, but I do think it's still pretty like a learning curve for everyone, just like on how they're going to be used. Are they just going to be the mentor and they're going to find somebody else that's going to be the permanent host that does those cheesy one-liners and those like final rose moments? Or is it going to be one at a time instead of like the Doublemint twins coming out to like say one sentence and you say the next sentence? So I think they're just trying to figure out what works. And it doesn't take away from the show for me. I don't really care either way, you know?
Yeah. I do think they were a little bit more awkward in this episode, more so than the other two. Like this episode, they felt like how I felt like being the MC of like a school assembly, like just kind of awkwardly shuffling on and off. With very little purpose. It wasn't so my favorite. Yeah.
Taller than Caitlin. So like I think also their height difference is like makes it also look a little bit awkward, and like they don't dress like similarly. So like they should maybe have some sort of matching something. Like, you know, Caitlin seems to be a little bit more funky, and so maybe she has like maybe they have the same color palette or same like pattern or something to kind of unify them, but they kind of just always just look out of place a little bit. So I do get people not understanding why they're around or why they're there, but I do think that within time, especially if they do this for multiple seasons, they will redefine their role and something new will be created. But it's just a transition period, I think. Yeah. Hi, Dolores. Dolores says, hi, everybody. How are y'all doing? Thomas, well, I think it was rude of him to interrupt. I thought it was more rude of Katie not to stop them. That's true. Katie should have said, like, hey, like, let me just give Aaron some time. That is very true. But she allowed it, but it is a show. That's true, Dolores.
She did say it was awkward. She was like, yeah, it is awkward, but I want to hear what you have to say. Like,
one of these fags are teasing me. Tamika also says that Nick on his pod said that Blake already there during his date. Okay, so
yeah, he said that on Bachelor Party last week too. And so that when he got there, Blake was already there, but didn't know if Blake was already like if everyone else knew that Blake was already there, like the guys, but that he was there and Katie knew he was there.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Tamika says, Chris hasn't been saying that much in these past few seasons. Yeah, like we were just always saying, like Chris, like he doesn't need to be there, and that's why I think that there's going to be something new carved out between them because it just that's the only way it's going to happen. So I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me that much. It just it's still kind of clunky and it's goofy, but like, is this show that serious? Well, they try to do it, but like, it's not that serious. So obviously, I love talking about this with you. Do you have anything else to say here?
No, I mean, I never thought that I would be excited for Blake to be back. But I am, because I'm just curious to see, like, obviously everyone's going to be really pissed off because these men are not having it already with some of the people that are already there, but we'll see. We'll see what goes down next week.
Good. I was hoping to get Blake when I got the box. I'm so impressed by that pick of yours. I'm like, man, like I really thought that Blake was going to be the box. So
I didn't think he would do that, but I mean, it could have been him. I just felt from the footage that we had seen, like of him like holding the boombox, which was what was primarily in my mind, and also why I didn't feel like it was a spoiler because we all kind of knew he was going to be there, that he wasn't going to come like at the beginning. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I thought it was the box was like, I didn't know the box was actually going to be a box.
Person. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a reveal of somebody later on in the season being Blake. So that's how I thought that they were going to do it. But when the box was actually having its own confessionals, I was like, okay, this is a different person. This is James from Boston.
James.
So please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We're going to have like a ton of content coming for you. So I think what I'm going to be doing is like daily clips for Love Island US and Love Island UK. And so just like 20-minute videos, I kind of have some like little topics that just like go through a bunch of different things. So that's kind of what I'm looking about doing. Probably do it solo unless anybody wants to pop up and chat with me about either of those shows. So that's going to be starting next week is going to be Love Island UK. And then the following week, it's going to be Love Island US and Big Brothers. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of us on Reality Realness coming very, very soon. And if you haven't done so already, I did them a couple weeks ago, but I did some tarot predictions for the men after the first episode. I did them. So some of them are looking, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of onto something. I haven't finished uploading because it actually takes kind of a long time to like edit it and upload it. So I've done like half. So if you want to go into the shorts here on Reality Realness, you can find some of these little reality readings is what I'm calling them. So take a little look-see. Yes, Tamika, Love Island starts I'm going to be more focused, I think, on Love Island UK because it's just better.
UK's so good.
But I'm going to watch both, of course. But that's all she wrote today, guys. I'm so excited, though. Thanks for hanging out. Ciao.
Bye.